The warning signal came at 3 in the morning. Commander Taemin rolled out of his sleeping pod and ran to the bridge of his ship. The red lights were flashing everywhere. His communication officer, Jin Woo, looked scared. "Sir, we lost contact with Kepler Station 3 hours ago," Jin Woo said. His hands were shaking as he worked on his computer. Their last message was very strange. Taemin rubbed his tired eyes. Kepler Station was a big mining place that floated around a distant planet. More than 200 people worked there. They dug for special metals that powered spaceships across the galaxy. "What did they say in their last message?" Taemin asked. Jin Woo played the recording. A woman's voice came through the speakers. She was screaming. "It got out! The thing from the lab got out! Everyone is running! Oh no, it sees me! Help us, please! Someone help us!" Then the message went quiet. Dr. So Young came running into the bridge. She was the ship's doctor who studied alien animals. Her face was very pale. "Commander, I heard the message. If something escaped from their lab, we need to be very careful." "Why? What were they keeping there?" Taemin asked. So Young looked at her tablet computer. "According to my files, they had a shadow maw in their research area." Everyone on the bridge went quiet. Even the new crew members knew about shadow maws. They were the most dangerous animals in the whole galaxy. Every planet had stories about them. Every space traveler had nightmares about meeting one. Security Chief Dong Ho stepped forward. He was a big man with many scars on his arms. "Sir, if there really is a shadow maw loose on that station, everyone there is already dead." Taemin did not want to believe it, but he knew Dong Ho was right. Shadow maws were bigger than elephants and faster than tigers. They had teeth like swords and claws that could cut through metal. Worst of all, they never stopped hunting until everything around them was dead. "Set course for Kepler Station," Taemin ordered. "Maximum speed." "But sir," Jinwoo said quietly, "what if the creature is still alive when we get there?" "Then we will deal with it," Taemin replied. But inside his heart, he was very scared too. The trip to Kepler Station took 6 hours. During that time, Taemin read everything he could about shadow maws. The files made his blood feel cold. The creatures came from a planet with no sunlight. They had lived in deep caves for millions of years. They had no friends. They did not take care of babies together like other animals. Each shadow maw lived alone and killed anything that came near it. Scientists had tried to study them for hundreds of years. Every time someone caught a shadow maw, bad things happened. The creatures could not be made calm with medicine. They did not get tired of fighting. They did not feel pain the way other animals did. "No one has ever tamed a shadow maw," Dr. So Young told him. "They do not understand friendship or kindness. They only know how to hunt and kill." When their ship arrived at Kepler Station, everything looked normal from the outside. The station was a big metal circle that spun slowly in space. Its lights were still on, its machines were still working, but no one answered when they tried to call the station. "Take us closer," Taemin ordered. As their ship moved near the station, they could see through the big windows. The inside hallways were dark. Strange marks covered the walls. "Those are claw marks," Dong Ho said. He was looking through a telescope. "Something with very big claws made those marks." Taemin felt sick to his stomach. "Prepare a boarding team. We need to see if anyone is still alive." "Sir, that might not be safe," Dr. So Young said. "If the shadow maw is still in there—" "We have to try," Taemin said. "There might be survivors hiding somewhere." Dong Ho picked his best fighters for the boarding team. They put on thick armor and carried the strongest weapons they had. But everyone knew that armor and weapons did not help much against shadow maws. They flew a small shuttle to the station's docking area. The metal doors opened for them automatically. Inside, the air still worked and the lights still shone. But something felt very wrong. The first hallway they walked through was covered in blood. Not human blood, alien blood from the stations. Alien workers. Green blood, blue blood, purple blood. All mixed together on the floors and walls. "This way to the main area," Dong Ho whispered. His men followed him carefully. Their guns were ready to shoot, but they did not find the Shadow Maw. Instead, they found something worse. Bodies were everywhere. Scientists, miners, security guards, cooks, cleaning workers. All of them were dead. The creature had not eaten them. Shadow Maws killed for fun, not just for food. These people had died running away in fear. "Look at this," one of Dong Ho's men called out. He was standing near a big hole in the metal wall. "This hole goes straight through 3 walls. What kind of strength could do this?" Dr. So Young checked her scanner. "The hole is exactly the right size for a full-grown Shadow Maw. The creature must have charged through these walls while chasing someone." They kept walking through the station. Every room told the same sad story. People had tried to hide, but the Shadow Maw had found them. People had tried to fight, but their weapons had done nothing. People had tried to escape, but the creature was too fast. In the main computer room, they found video recordings from the security cameras. Dr. So Young played them on the big screen. The videos showed how it all started. Scientists in white coats were doing tests on a huge black creature in a strong glass cage. The creature looked like a giant wolf, but it had 6 legs instead of 4. Its eyes glowed red in the dark. Spikes grew out of its back like a dragon. "That is definitely a Shadow Maw," Dr. So Young said. "A big one." In the video, the scientists were taking blood from the creature with long needles. The Shadow Maw did not move. It just stared at them with its red eyes, waiting. Then something went wrong with the cage's locks. Alarms started ringing. The glass walls began to crack. The Shadow Maw smiled. It had teeth like long knives. What happened next was too terrible to watch. The creature broke free and the hunting began. The video showed people running and screaming. It showed the Shadow Maw chasing them through hallways and rooms. It showed the creature's joy as it caused fear and death. "Turn it off," Taemin said quietly. "I have seen enough." But as Dr. So Young reached for the controls, something moved in the shadows behind them. Everyone turned around with their weapons ready. Nothing was there. "We need to search the whole station," Taemin said. "If that creature is still here, we need to know." "And if we find it?" Dong Ho asked. Taemin looked at the blood on the walls around them. He thought about all the dead people they had found. "Then we call for bigger ships with bigger guns. And we make sure this never happens again." But deep in his heart, Taemin wondered if even bigger guns would be enough to stop something that had killed so many people so easily. The Shadow Maw was somewhere in this station, and they had to find it before it found them. The search team moved through the dark hallways of Kepler Station like ghosts. Every shadow could hide the deadly Shadow Maw. Every sound made them jump. Commander Taemin stayed close to Security Chief Dong Ho as they checked room after room. They had been searching for 2 hours. All they found were more bodies and more blood. The station felt like a tomb floating in space. "Sir," Jinwoo's voice came through their radio. "I am getting a very weak life signal from Section 7. It might be someone still alive." Taemin felt his heart beat faster. "Are you sure?" "The signal is very small. It could be a child or someone who is badly hurt." Dong Ho looked worried. "It could also be a trap. Shadow Maws are smart. They know how to hunt." But Taemin could not leave without checking. If someone was still alive on this station, they had to try to save them. "Show us the way to Section 7. Section 7 was the living area where families stayed. It had small apartments with kitchens and bedrooms. Pictures of children hung on the walls. Toys were scattered on the floor. It made the death all around them feel even more sad. "The signal is coming from maintenance shaft number 12, Jinwoo told them through the radio. They found the shaft behind a broken wall panel. It was a small space where repair workers could crawl to fix pipes and wires. Dong Ho shined his light into the dark opening. "Hello?" he called softly. "Is someone in there?" They heard a tiny voice answer. "Are you the bad monsters?" It was definitely a child, a little girl. No, we are not monsters, Tae-min said gently. We are here to help you. Can you come out? My daddy said never talk to strangers, but daddy is not here anymore. Tae-min's heart felt heavy. This child had been alone with a killer monster for 3 days. How was she still alive? What is your name? Dr. So-young asked. She had a kind voice that children liked. My name is Yuri. I am 6 years old. Do you know where my mommy and daddy went? The adults looked at each other with sad eyes. They knew where her parents were. They had seen the bodies in the science lab. Yuri, we need you to come out so we can take you somewhere safe, Dr. So-young said. Can you do that? But what about Fluffy? I cannot leave Fluffy alone. He gets scared when I am not here. Dong-ho raised his weapon. There is someone else in there with her. No, wait, Tae-min said quietly. Yuri, who is Fluffy? Fluffy is my friend. He was sad and lonely, so I stayed with him. He does not like loud noises or bright lights, but he likes when I sing songs. The search team looked confused. How could anyone survive 3 days on this station and make a friend? Slowly, a small head poked out of the maintenance shaft. Yuri was a tiny girl with big dark eyes and messy black hair. Her clothes were dirty and torn. She held an old stuffed rabbit that was missing one ear. Hello, she said shyly. Are you here to take me home? Dr. So-young knelt down to be the same height as Yuri. Yes, we want to take you somewhere safe. But first, can you tell us about Fluffy? Yuri smiled for the first time. Fluffy is really big, and he looks scary. But he is not mean. He was trapped in a box, and people were hurting him with needles. When the loud alarm started, everyone ran away. But I stayed because Fluffy was crying. Crying? Tae-min asked. What do you mean? He makes sad sounds when he is upset. Like this. Yuri made a low growling noise that sounded almost like a whimper. The adults felt cold fear in their stomachs. Yuri was talking about the shadow maw. Yuri, Dong-ho said very carefully. Where is Fluffy now? He is sleeping in the big room downstairs. I told him to stay there while I hid from the loud flying machines. He does not like machines that make noise. She means our shuttle, Jinwoo said through the radio. The creature heard us land and she hid from us. Tae-min could not believe what he was hearing. This little girl had been living with the galaxy's most dangerous killer. And she was still alive. Yuri, we need to go now, Dr. So-young said. Can you come with us without waking up Fluffy? But I promised I would not leave him alone. He gets nightmares about the needles and the cage. When he has bad dreams, I pat his head and sing until he feels better. This is impossible, Dong-ho whispered to Tae-min. Shadow maws do not sleep. They do not have dreams. They do not make friends. But she is alive, Tae-min whispered back. Somehow this child survived 3 days with that creature. We need to understand how. Yuri crawled all the way out of the maintenance shaft. She was even smaller than they thought. Her stuffed rabbit was almost as big as she was. I need to say goodbye to Fluffy before we leave, she said. It would be rude not to say goodbye. No, Dong-ho said quickly. That is too dangerous. But he will be sad if I just disappear. He does not understand why everyone else ran away and left him alone. Yuri started walking toward the stairway that went down to the lower levels. The adults followed her because they did not want to let her out of their sight. Yuri, stop, Tae-min called. We cannot go down there. Why not? Fluffy will not hurt you if I tell him you are my friends. Dr. So-young checked her scanner. Commander, I am reading massive life signs from the lower storage area. Whatever is down there is very much alive. That is where Fluffy lives now, Yuri explained. The cage people put him in was too small. He likes the big room better. There is more space to stretch his legs. They reached the stairway. Below them was complete darkness. Strange sounds came from the shadows. Low rumbling noises like a giant cat purring. "He knows I am here," Yuri said happily. "He is saying hello." To the adults, the sounds were terrifying. They sounded like the growls of a hungry predator. "Yuri, please listen to me," Taemin said. "The creature down there is very dangerous. It has hurt many people." Yuri looked confused. "But Fluffy never hurt me. He was gentle when I gave him food from my lunchbox. He even let me use his fur like a blanket when I got cold." "You slept next to it?" Dr. So-young asked in shock. "He is very warm, and his heartbeat sounds like a drum. It helped me not feel scared in the dark." The purring sound got louder. Then they heard heavy footsteps moving around in the room below. "He wants me to come visit," Yuri said. "I always visit him at this time of day." "No," Dong-ho said firmly. "We are leaving now." But Yuri was already walking down the stairs. "Do not worry. I will tell Fluffy you are nice people. He will understand." The adults had no choice. They could not let a 6-year-old girl face a shadow maw alone, even if it meant walking into the den of the galaxy's deadliest beast. They followed, Yuri down into the darkness, their weapons ready and their hearts pounding with fear. At the bottom of the stairs, Yuri called out in a sweet voice, "Fluffy, I brought some friends to meet you. Please be good and do not scare them." Something large moved in the shadows ahead. 2 red eyes opened and looked directly at them. The shadow maw had been waiting. The red eyes stared at them from the darkness. Commander Taemin felt his legs shake with fear. Security Chief Dong-ho raised his weapon. Dr. So-young held her breath, but little Yuri just smiled and ran forward into the shadows. "Fluffy, I missed you," she called out happily. The adults watched in complete shock as the massive creature stepped into the light. It was even bigger than they had imagined. The shadow maw was as tall as 3 men and as long as a small spaceship. Its black fur looked like metal armor. Sharp spikes ran down its back. Its claws were longer than kitchen knives. This was the beast that had killed everyone on the station. But when Yuri reached it, the monster did something impossible. It lowered its huge head and gently nuzzled the little girl with its nose. The rumbling sound they had heard was not angry growling. It was purring like a giant cat. "See? He is happy to see me," Yuri said. She patted the creature's massive snout like it was a friendly dog. Dong-ho's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold his gun. "This cannot be real," he whispered. Dr. So-young pulled out her scanner with trembling fingers. The readings she saw made no sense. "Commander, the creature's stress levels are completely normal. Its brain patterns show no signs of aggression. This is impossible." The shadow maw looked at the adults with its glowing red eyes, but instead of attacking, it tilted its head like a curious puppy. Yuri noticed it was nervous. "It is okay, Fluffy," she said softly. "These are my new friends. They came to help us." She turned to the adults. "You have to put your guns away. Fluffy does not like them. Guns remind him of the bad people who hurt him." "Bad people?" Taemin asked, though he could barely speak. "The people in white coats. They put him in a tiny cage and stuck needles in him every day. They never gave him toys or friends. They never said nice words to him." Yuri hugged the creature's enormous paw. "But I told him that not all people are mean. Some people are kind and gentle." The shadow maw made a soft, whimpering sound. It looked sad. "He still has nightmares about the cage," Yuri explained. "Sometimes he wakes up scared and I have to sing to him until he feels better." Slowly, very slowly, Dong-ho lowered his weapon. The moment he did, the shadow maw's eyes became less bright. It seemed to relax. "How is this possible?" Dr. So-young asked. "Every scientific study says shadow maws cannot form emotional bonds." "Maybe the scientists were wrong," Yuri said simply. "Fluffy has lots of feelings. He gets sad when he is alone. He gets excited when I bring him food. He gets scared during loud storms. Taemin took a small step forward. The Shadow Maw watched him carefully but did not attack. Yuri, how did you first meet Fluffy? When the alarms started ringing, everyone was running and screaming. I got lost looking for my mommy and daddy. I heard Fluffy crying in his cage. The glass was broken and he was bleeding. Yuri petted the creature's fur gently. He looked so scared and hurt. I know how it feels to be scared and alone. So I talked to him. What did you say? Dr. So Young asked. I said hello. I told him my name. I said I was scared too and asked if we could be friends. The adults could not believe what they were hearing. While everyone else was running in terror, this little girl had approached the galaxy's deadliest predator and offered friendship. He understood me, Yuri continued. Not my words, but my feelings. I was not trying to hurt him or study him. I just wanted to be his friend. The Shadow Maw made another soft sound and gently placed its huge head on the ground next to Yuri. She scratched behind what looked like ears. He likes this, she said. All animals like to be petted if you are gentle. Jinwoo's voice came through their radios. Commander, are you okay down there? Your life signs are showing high stress levels. We are fine, Jinwoo, Taemin replied, though his voice was shaky. We found the survivor, and we found the Shadow Maw. Should I call for backup? Taemin looked at Yuri playing with the massive creature like it was her pet dog. No, not yet. This situation is very different from what we expected. Dr. So Young was studying her scanner readings. Commander, I need to report something strange. The creature's body chemistry has changed completely. Its hormone levels are like nothing I have ever seen in a Shadow Maw before. What does that mean? Dong-ho asked. It means this creature is experiencing emotions that we thought were impossible for its species. Contentment, affection, even what appears to be love. Yuri smiled. Of course he loves me. I love him too. That is what friends do. The Shadow Maw seemed to understand. It made a gentle cooing sound and carefully touched Yuri's hair with one massive claw. The claw that could cut through metal was softer than a feather when touching the little girl. We need to contact Galactic Command, Taemin said quietly. This changes everything we know about these creatures. What will happen to Fluffy? Yuri asked with worry in her voice. I do not know, Taemin answered honestly. Yuri looked up at the massive beast. Do not worry, Fluffy. I will not let anyone hurt you anymore. We are family now. The Shadow Maw purred louder and curled its body around Yuri like a protective wall. For the first time in galactic history, the most feared predator in the universe was acting like a guardian instead of a killer, and it had learned this behavior from a 6-year-old human girl who saw friendship where everyone else saw only death. The adults stood in silence, watching the impossible scene before them. Everything they thought they knew about Shadow Maws was wrong. Yuri had done what no scientist, no warrior, and no government had ever achieved. She had tamed the untamable. But the question remained. What would happen when the rest of the galaxy learned about this miracle? 3 days later, Yuri and Fluffy were living on Commander Taemin's ship. The crew had built a special room for the Shadow Maw in the cargo bay. It was bigger than his old cage and had soft blankets that Yuri had chosen for him. Dr. So Young spent every day studying them. She watched how Yuri talked to Fluffy. She recorded the sounds they made to each other. She tested Yuri's blood and breath to see what made her special. What she found amazed everyone. Commander, I think I understand. How Yuri can communicate with the Shadow Maw, Dr. So Young said during a meeting. Humans produce special chemicals through their skin and breath. These chemicals change based on their emotions. All species do that, Tactical Officer Kyung-soo said. Yes, but humans are different. They can copy the chemical patterns of other species without even knowing they are doing it. Yuri has been unconsciously matching Fluffy's emotional signals. Taemin looked confused. What does that mean in simple words? It means Yuri speaks Fluffy's language without realizing it. Her body naturally makes the same smells and sounds that tell him she is friendly and safe. In the cargo bay, they could see Yuri teaching Fluffy how to play a simple game. She would hide behind boxes and Fluffy would pretend to look for her. When he found her, she would giggle, and he would make happy purring sounds. Look at that, Dr. So-Young said, pointing at her scanner. Every time Yuri laughs, Fluffy's brain releases the same chemicals that human brains make during happiness. They are sharing emotions. Communications. Officer Jin Woo shook his head in wonder. So humans can make friends with any creature? Not all humans, Dr. So-Young explained. It seems to work best with children. Their minds are more open. They do not have fear and prejudice like adults do. What about adults? Kyung-soo asked. Adults think too much. They see a shadow maw and immediately think, danger monster, kill it. Children like Yuri see a shadow maw and think, big animal, maybe lonely, maybe wants a friend. Through the window, they watched Fluffy carefully pick up a small ball with his teeth and drop it near Yuri. She clapped her hands and praised him like he had done something wonderful. He is learning to play, Taemin said in amazement. More than that, Dr. So-Young replied. He is learning to be happy. Shadow maws in the wild never play. They never show joy. Yuri has awakened emotions in him that his species forgot long ago. Jin Woo's computer started beeping. Commander, I am getting messages from across the galaxy. Word about Yuri and Fluffy is spreading. What kind of messages? Scientists want to study them. Military leaders want to know if we can train shadow maws as weapons. Some governments want to capture Fluffy for experiments. Taemin felt angry. No one will hurt that creature. He is under our protection. But, sir, what if other shadow maws can be trained the same way? Think of how many lives could be saved if we could make peace with them instead of fighting them. Dr. So-Young pulled up a star map on the big screen. I have been tracking shadow maw attacks across the galaxy. Something interesting is happening. Red dots showed where attacks had occurred over the past month. But the most recent attacks were different. Look at these reports from the last week, she said. Shadow maws are still appearing near human colonies, but they are not attacking right away. They seem to be waiting. Watching. Waiting for what? Taemin asked. Maybe they can sense the change in Fluffy. Animals often communicate over long distances in ways we do not understand. If one shadow maw has found peace, others might be curious about it. Yuri came into the meeting room with Fluffy, walking slowly behind her. The massive creature barely fit through the doorway. The crew no longer ran away when they saw him. They were getting used to having a tame monster on their ship. Fluffy wants to see the stars, Yuri announced. Can we go to the observation deck? Of course, Taemin said. But be careful. He is always careful with me, Yuri said. She patted Fluffy's leg. He knows I am small and soft. As they walked toward the observation deck, Dr. So-Young noticed something new. Other crew members were starting to relax around Fluffy. Engineer Woo Jin even waved at the creature as they passed. Fluffy tilted his head and made a friendly chirping sound. Did you see that? Dr. So-Young asked excitedly. Fluffy just tried to communicate with someone other than Yuri. Is that important? Kyung-soo asked. Very important. It means the bonding process is expanding. Fluffy is starting to see other humans as potential friends instead of threats. At the observation deck, Yuri and Fluffy looked out at the stars together. She pointed at different planets and told him stories about what might live there. Fluffy listened carefully, his red eyes focused on her face. I think there are other lonely animals out there, Yuri said to Fluffy. Maybe someday we can visit them and be their friends too. Fluffy made a soft sound that almost seemed like agreement. Jin Woo came running to find them. Commander, We are getting a priority message from Earth. The Human Council wants to speak with you immediately. What do they want? Taemin asked. They want to create something called the Human Shadow Maw Friendship Program. They want to train other human children to work with captured Shadow Maws. Yuri looked up from the window. That sounds nice. Every Shadow Maw should have a friend. But Taemin was worried. What if adults tried to turn Yuri's innocent friendship into a weapon? What if they hurt other Shadow Maws while trying to copy what she had done? Looking at Yuri and Fluffy together, he realized that some miracles could not be forced or copied. They could only happen naturally, when a kind heart met a lonely soul. The question was, would the galaxy understand that? 2 weeks later, their ship arrived at New Geneva, the biggest space station in the galaxy. Thousands of scientists, reporters, and government officials were waiting to meet Yuri and Fluffy. News about the tame Shadow Maw had spread to every corner of known space. Commander Taemin was nervous as they prepared to dock. Are you ready for this, Yuri? The little girl was brushing Fluffy's fur with a big comb she had found in the ship's supply room. I think so. But Fluffy is scared of crowds. Too many people make him worry. Dr. So Young checked her scanner. His stress levels are higher than normal, but still much lower than any wild Shadow Maw. Will there be other children for me to play with? Yuri asked. Yes, Taemin said, and many adults who want to learn from you. Learn what? How to be friends with creatures that others think are monsters. The docking process took longer than usual because they needed extra security. Not everyone was happy about bringing a Shadow Maw to the station. Some people thought it was too dangerous. Others thought it was a trick. Ambassador Hyejin met them at the airlock. She was a kind woman who worked to make peace between different species in the galaxy. Welcome to New Geneva, Yuri. We are very excited to meet you and your friend. Yuri held Fluffy's massive paw as they walked through the station. Crowds of people lined the hallways to see them. Some people smiled and waved. Others looked scared and stayed far away. Why are those people afraid? Yuri asked. They have heard scary stories about Shadow Maws their whole lives, Ambassador Hyejin explained. It is hard for them to believe that one could be gentle and kind. But Fluffy is not scary once you get to know him, Yuri said. He likes belly rubs and funny songs. As if to prove her point, Fluffy made a playful chirping sound when he saw a group of children watching from behind their parents. The children giggled, and some of them waved back. They were taken to a special research center where Dr. So Young could continue her studies. The room was big and comfortable, with windows that showed the stars. Yuri immediately started arranging blankets, in a corner where Fluffy liked to nap. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's top animal expert, came to observe them. She had studied dangerous creatures for 30 years, but had never seen anything like this. Remarkable, she said, as she watched Yuri teach Fluffy to fetch a ball. The creature shows problem-solving skills, emotional intelligence, and even a sense of humor. Fluffy is very smart, Yuri agreed. He knows when I am sad and tries to make me feel better. Yesterday I was missing my mommy and daddy, and he brought me his favorite toy to cheer me up. Dr. Vasquez made notes on her tablet. In all our studies, we never thought to approach Shadow Maws with kindness and patience. We always used fear and force. That just makes them more scared, Yuri said wisely. Scared animals bite. Happy animals play. Over the next few days, scientists came from all over the galaxy to watch Yuri and Fluffy. They were amazed by what they saw. Fluffy could understand simple commands. He could recognize different people. He even seemed to enjoy music when Yuri sang to him. But the most important discovery came when Dr. So Young tested how other people could interact with Fluffy. Watch this, she told the group of scientists. I am going to try to pet Fluffy while Yuri is in the room. Slowly, very carefully, Dr. So Young reached out toward Fluffy's head. The massive creature looked at Yuri first, as if asking for permission. Yuri nodded and said, It is okay, Fluffy. She is my friend, too. Fluffy allowed Dr. So Young to touch his fur. He did not purr like he did with Yuri, but he did not attack either. Incredible, Dr. Vasquez whispered. He is learning to trust other people through his bond with the child. It is like Yuri is teaching him that not all humans are enemies, Dr. So Young added, but not everyone was happy with these discoveries. General Morrison from the Galactic Defense Force came to the station with a proposal. Think of the military. Advantages, he told Ambassador Hyajin during a private meeting. If we could train Shadow Maws to fight alongside our soldiers, we could end wars before they start. These creatures are not weapons, Ambassador Hyajin replied firmly. They are intelligent beings capable of friendship and emotion. All the better, General Morrison said. Intelligent weapons are more useful than dumb ones. But Yuri overheard their conversation through the ventilation system. That night, she talked to Fluffy about it. Some people want to make you fight. In wars, she told him sadly. But I will not let them. You are not a weapon. You are my best friend. Fluffy seemed to understand. He made a soft, whimpering sound and gently wrapped his tail around Yuri like a protective blanket. The next morning, Ambassador Hyajin announced a new plan to the galaxy. Instead of using Shadow Maws as weapons, they would create peaceful sanctuaries where humans and Shadow Maws could learn to live together. Children like Yuri would be trained not as soldiers, but as ambassadors of friendship. We have learned something important, she said, during a broadcast that reached billions of beings across the galaxy. The universe's most feared creatures are not monsters. They are simply beings that have been misunderstood for too long. In the research center, Yuri was teaching Fluffy how to paint with special brushes held in his claws. His pictures were simple, but they showed stars and spaceships and little figures that looked like Yuri. See? She said to the amazed scientists watching them. Fluffy has an artist's heart. He just needed someone to give him paintbrushes instead of cages. Dr. So Young smiled as she recorded everything. I think we are witnessing the beginning of a new age in the galaxy, an age where friendship is stronger than fear. Outside the windows, more ships were arriving every day. Some carried scientists who wanted to study this miracle. Others carried families with children who hoped to meet their own Shadow Maw friends. The galaxy was beginning to change, one friendship at a time. 6 months later, Yuri woke up in her new bedroom on the friendship ship called Hope's Journey. Through her window, she could see the beautiful planet Harmony below them. It was the first world where humans and Shadow Maws were learning to live together in peace. Good morning, Fluffy, she said to the massive creature sleeping next to her bed. He had grown even bigger over the months, but he was also gentler than ever. Fluffy opened his red eyes and made a happy rumbling sound. He carefully stood up and stretched, being very careful not to knock anything over with his tail. Today we visit the new sanctuary, Yuri told him as she got dressed. There are 5 more Shadow Maws there who need friends. Commander Taemin's ship had become a traveling home for the human Shadow Maw friendship program. They went from planet to planet, helping humans and Shadow Maws meet each other safely. At breakfast, Yuri sat with 12 other children from different worlds. They were all part of the friendship program now. Each child was paired with a Shadow Maw who had been rescued from bad situations. How is Storm doing? Yuri asked 8-year-old Bo Ram, who was feeding pieces of fruit to her Shadow Maw. Partner. Much better, Bo Ram replied. She finally stopped having nightmares about the fighting arena. Yesterday, she even played with the ball for 10 minutes. Storm was a female Shadow Maw who had been forced to fight other creatures for entertainment. When the friendship program rescued her, she was angry and scared. But Bo Ram's patient kindness was slowly healing her broken heart. And how is Gentle? Yuri asked 9-year-old Daeho. Gentle was the biggest Shadow Maw they had rescued. He had been kept in a tiny cage for years by people who wanted to study his strength. Now he was learning to trust again with Daeho's help. He smiled yesterday. Deho said proudly. A real smile, not just showing his teeth. He likes it when I read him stories about space adventures. Dr. So-Young joined them at the breakfast table. The children on Harmony are very excited to meet you all today. This will be the first time young humans and young Shadow Maws grow up together from the beginning. Will the baby Shadow Maws be scared? Yuri asked. Probably a little, but not as scared as their parents would be. Young creatures are naturally more open to friendship, just like young humans. After breakfast, they took shuttles down to the planet's surface. Harmony was a beautiful world with purple grass and silver trees. In the distance, they could see the new sanctuary buildings where human families and Shadow Maw families lived. Side by side, Ambassador He-Jin met them at the landing pad. "Welcome to Harmony Colony," she said with a big smile. "We have been preparing for your visit for weeks." As they walked toward the main building, Yuri saw something wonderful. Human. Children and young Shadow Maws were playing together in a big field. They were chasing each other in a game of tag, with the Shadow Maw cubs being very gentle with their human friends. "It is working," Dr. So-Young said with tears of joy in her eyes. "Children who grow up together do not learn to fear each other." Inside the sanctuary, Yuri met Director Park, a woman who had been studying animal behavior for many years. "Yuri, we owe this all to you," she said. "Your friendship with Fluffy showed us that peace was possible." "I just wanted to help a sad animal," Yuri said shyly. "I did not know it would change the whole galaxy." "The best changes often start with simple kindness," Director Park replied. They spent the day visiting different areas of the sanctuary. In the nursery, human babies and Shadow Maw cubs napped together under the watchful eyes of both human and Shadow Maw parents. In the schoolrooms, older children learned about both human and Shadow Maw history. But the most amazing place was the workshop where humans and Shadow Maws worked together to build new homes and create art. Yuri watched a human engineer and an adult Shadow Maw design a playground together, with the Shadow Maw's strength and the human's creativity combining to make something beautiful. "Fluffy, look," Yuri whispered to her friend. "They are all working together like we do." Fluffy purred with happiness. Over the months, he had learned to recognize the joy in Yuri's voice. That evening, there was a celebration dinner for the visiting friendship teams. Humans and Shadow Maws sat together at long tables, sharing food and stories. The Shadow Maws had learned to eat human food, and the humans had learned to appreciate some Shadow Maw delicacies. During dinner, a young Shadow Maw named Thunder approached Yuri's table. He was only 2 years old, still small enough that he was only as big as a large dog. His human friend, Min-Jun, walked beside him. "Are you the famous Yuri?" Min-Jun asked. "Thunder wants to meet the human who started the friendship program." Yuri smiled and knelt down to Thunder's level. "Hello, Thunder. This is my friend Fluffy." Thunder made excited chirping sounds as he looked up at Fluffy. The big Shadow Maw gently lowered his head so Thunder could sniff him. It was like watching a grandfather meet his grandchild. "Fluffy likes you," Yuri told Thunder. "He says you have a brave heart and a kind spirit." "How can you tell what he is saying?" Min-Jun asked. "You learn to understand when you listen with love instead of fear," Yuri explained. As the celebration continued, Commander Tai-Min received a message from Galactic Command. "Yuri, I have good news," he announced to the room. "The Galactic Council has officially recognized Shadow Maws as an intelligent species with full rights and protections." Everyone cheered, both humans and Shadow Maws making happy sounds together. "What does that mean?" Yuri asked. "It means no one can hurt Shadow Maws anymore," Ambassador He-Jin explained. "They cannot be caged or experimented on or forced to fight. They have the same rights as any other thinking being in the galaxy." Yuri hugged Fluffy tightly. "Did you hear that, Fluffy? You are free forever now." Fluffy made a sound that everyone in the room understood, even without translation. It was the sound of pure joy. Later that night, Yuri stood on the sanctuary's observation deck with Fluffy beside her. They looked up at the stars together, just like they had done many times on the ship. I used to think the galaxy was big and scary, Yuri said softly. But now I know it is full of friends we just have not met yet. Fluffy placed his massive head gently next to her small one. In the distance, they could hear the sounds of the sanctuary settling down for the night. Human lullabies mixed with Shadow Maw purring songs. Dr. So-Young found them there an hour later. Yuri, it is time for bed. I am not tired yet, Yuri said. I am thinking about tomorrow. What about tomorrow? Tomorrow we start teaching friendship to the Void Stalkers on Titan Station. They are supposed to be even scarier than Shadow Maws. Used to be? Dr. So-Young smiled. And what do you think about that? Yuri patted Fluffy's fur and looked up at the stars with wise eyes that seemed too old for her young face. I think they are probably just lonely, like Fluffy was. Everyone deserves to have a friend. Fluffy purred in agreement, and somewhere, in the darkness of space, the galaxy became a little bit brighter. The universe's deadliest beasts were learning to love, one friendship at a time, and it all started because a little girl looked at a monster and saw a friend who just needed someone. To call him Fluffy,